allowed Senator Alwale and Senator Eddy to advance a hypothesis behind their figures, which obviously things we have already discussed in the last meeting. And I wanted just to, before you agree on the figures, just to challenge them that, you know, what we are now doing, we are now discussing transfer functions. We are not discussing mediation between DORA. We are not now discussing DORA. You have moved us from discussing division of revenue bill to discussing transfer functions that are still held in national government to counties. And I don't think that is the reason why we are here. Yeah, we need another, I think we need another forum where we can go and discuss those ones and agree with the people who are holding those functions that they should transfer them to counties. Otherwise, for this meeting, I think let us restrict ourselves to discussing the sharing of revenue between national government and county government. Honorable Eddy, we agreed yesterday that you do not expect, on Friday, that you do not expect water functions to be transferred to Migori County where there is no engineer who can even supervise drilling of a borehole. So if that is to happen, then we must agree, we must have a formula where we are going to transfer the functions that are being done by water authorities. We transfer water authorities to counties so that they can be able to, they now report to counties, then now we transfer the functions. Otherwise, from here, my brothers, I think what we are doing here, we are just now doing politics. Also about in introducing this issue of agreement, broad-based agreement. You know, it's not part of the bill here. Yeah, yes. If you have looked at the bill, there is no section where it is written that this section refers to broad-based agreement or whatever was signed. Let us restrict ourselves to the contents of the bill which is before us. And you note that whatever was discussed somewhere else is not part of this bill, Senator Eddy. I want to persuade you as my younger brother that let us. And I also want to also persuade you that, you know, I'm also co-chairman, courtesy of ODM. So I'm also serving ODM interest in this meeting. So I think we should not, we will not disagree, you know. As much as you're serving ODM interest, I'm also serving ODM interest. And ODM interest is prosperity of counties, stability of counties, you know, devolution, enhancing resources devolution. So we are all doing that collectively. So I think we don't need to belabor that point. Thank you.
Coach, you know, I wanted to navigate it to a point where we can start negotiation. Now you've weighed in and taken it the other direction, because when I requested Onyonka to allow your colleagues who are here before to come to a point of convergence, the interest was to progress. I don't want us to have a lot of back and forth engagement. Can I request, please, Honorable Senators Eddy, Kisang, Kalwale, that we come to a common position to start our mediation today from. Alwale, you've expressed yourself at 4:30. I want to request Senator Eddy, Senator Kisang, if you can agree we start at 4:30. This mediation, which is a progress from our engagement on Friday. Kisang.
I was at 4:35. And since Kalwale's proposal was 4:30.425, I'm willing to climb down to 4:30.425.
Very good. Senator Eddy, also you will persuade him to be there. Senator Onyonka, that is the discussion we've had. I just want to, before we open up now for all the members, I want to persuade you to be at the same level with your team who are here on Friday.
Thank you, Chair. I completely disagree with what the Vice Chair has said. The reason why we come here is not because we are members of political parties. It's because the people vote for us. Those people believe that the state has captured the resources of our country. This money is being allocated because of corruption to sections where it will be stolen. And the argument is, if it's being stolen at the national level, let it also be stolen at the county level. Yeah, I agree with Eddy, whether you had agreed on Friday on it. If it was 450, so be it. But I know you will not give it 450, so I leave.
Okay, now the floor is open. We'll also persuade Senator Eddie to come at the same level. Now, Co-Chair,
Can I
I
start?
think you can progress.
Members, I think we don't need to advance so many arguments because what we are discussing is just agreeing on the figures, isn't it? We know if we allow this meeting to be about arguments, then we will argue until tomorrow. So I think let us just look at the figures, just for the benefit of Co-Chair, for the benefit of this new meeting. We had given you a background of where we are coming from as the team representing National Assembly, and we said that we are starting our negotiation, our mediation process from a point where the current allocations to counties is for 387 billion. 387 billion. Now, from where we left on Friday, we were essentially going up by about 20 billion, 21 billion, I think so. If you add, if you subtract 408 for 387 from 408, then you have about 22 billion, I think so. So essentially, we are going up by about 22 billion. That was our argument on Friday. 21 billion. That's our argument from Friday. And we also looked at the presentation by the Senate, which touched on what they call non-discretionary expenditures. When we summed up the non-discretionary expenditures, we were coming up with a figure of 23 billion, yes. If you add up the non-discretionary expenditures, which include housing levy deductions at 4.1 billion, enhanced contributions to NSSF 6 billion, matching allocations for CHPs, annual wage increments, and basic salary increments as per the doctor's CBA 2017-2021. The only thing we did not include here is matching allocation to the KIPES project, which we agreed as a committee that is something which governors and national government agreed in principle, and that governors knew where they were going to factor in those resources from. So members, from where we sit, I think we were making very good progress. We are going up by 21 billion, members. And also, I would like to allow one of my secretariat members from PBO to just maybe give you a short highlight of the economic situation that is prevailing at the moment, the fiscal framework we are operating at. And so, members, we believe that from National Assembly, the increase of about 21 billion to counties is fair enough. Members, we cannot increase, we cannot get more resources outside 21 billion. And you're also aware that even the finance bill, which is now in the National Assembly, is not projecting to raise any revenue, any additional revenue. So, members, I think I wanted to plead with senators that please come down to at where we are at 408. All of us will be comfortable. National government will be comfortable. Counties will be comfortable. Also, another issue is that you're aware that even as we talk, counties have not yet received their full allocations. They are even arrears of going up to 3 months. So we don't want to just legislate and allocate resources which will not even be realized, will not be achieved. If we put money here in the budget and next financial year the economy struggles with revenue, the consequence is that there will be no money transferred to counties. So we don't want to put everybody in that situation. We also said on Friday that the consequence of putting resources which will not be achieved in the budget is also to create more pending bills in counties, because counties will budget with what is already here in Dora, and in the end the monies are not realized. So we are still going to pile more pending bills in counties, something which we cannot do as a responsible leadership. Co-Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Co-Chair. I wanted to make progress And always it's good to make that progress as systematically as possible in this mediation process. We engaged on Friday. We stopped at a point, and it's good to move from that point because that was a very progressive engagement. From 465 to 430, and National Assembly has just moved marginally from 405 to 408. And the justifications we've given on Friday, and it's on record, I didn't want us to repeat that a lot because then we'll go back to the same point. The issue is just for our honorable members who may not have been with us on Friday, just as the co-chair shared, I want to just share a very small critical issue of the fact that since 2019-2020, the shareable revenue allocated to county governments have just very marginally increased, except between 2020-2021, which it increased from 316.5 to 370. Otherwise, all the other years, 2019-2020 was 316.5. 2020-2021, 316.5. 2021-2022 is when we had significant increase during the third basis of revenue sharing. 2022-2023, that year it moved to 370, from 316 to 370. 2022 it remained at 370, and 2023-2024 it moved to from 370 to 385.425, and 24-25 to 387.425. The cumulative increase of revenue over the 6 years for county government is 73.425. With all this, including the non-discretionary expenditure arising from legislations passed by both houses of parliament, as shared by my colleague. Housing levy at 4.1 billion, enhanced contribution to NSSF 6 billion, matching allocation to CAIBs, a mistake by governors. I will keep saying this. They should not have offered 11.8 billion. Matching allocation to community health promoters 3.23 billion. Annual wage thrift about 6.3. This is system based. And then the CBA of doctors at 3.5. These are all dents in the budgets of county governments. And during the same period, the cumulative revenue growth of the government was 790 billion, where then the cumulative growth to county government is 73.425. So now we are in the process of, we just passed the fourth basis of revenue sharing, which is now at the National Assembly. And we felt that this is maybe based on what happened before. This year would be maybe also the other year that they will get some reasonable increase in shareable revenue. So this basis we have laid on Friday. I do not want us to go back to them. And there is then the fiscal space challenge that we are discussing. We need to find some convergence. Even if there was borrowing, there is no more noble borrowing than borrowing to support county governments, the 47 county governments that comprises the country Kenya. So I want to plead with all of us first. Can we negotiate in figures, so that if we go to all the reasons, then we might not make much progress, and it's important we make some progress on this issue. The National Assembly has to process the appropriation bill before 30th of June. County governments will equally have the challenge of having their CARA processed only upon agreement on DORA. So all of the two levels of government are looking at impending, shutdown, government shutdown at both levels. So we have to make this progress to make sure counties are able to pass their budgets by 30th of June, and other appropriation related to, the National Assembly has to do also can be processed. So with that in mind, I want us to make some progress so that we are not stuck. Baya.
I want to make progress, Chair, like you said, and I want to pick it from where you left it and say this, that I like the way you have detailed the figures, and I want to go to the figures. That in a year where we had a jump from almost 50 billion, is it? 53 billion. We had that kind of jump, 53 billion. We are actually being tempted to do the same. Because if you look at 405 and the proposal by Senate of 430 is almost that kind of a jump. But I also want you to go back.
It's 25.
Yeah?
It's only 25.
Yes. So I want us to go back and say, where did the phenomenon of pending bills start in this country, especially for counties? It started when that jump was made. If you look carefully at the figures, did national government at that particular time give counties all the money that they had promised? They did not. They did not. When that jump was made, I think it was during Uhuru's time when he made that bold move and said, let's give county this amount of money. National Treasury did not realize the amount of money that counties were supposed to get. But counties went ahead and procured. So we had the first fundamental problem of pending bills. We are being tempted to do the same thing. You know, where we are looking at, yes, realistically, we want to look at the non-discretionary. We want to look at ensuring functions of the county are going on well. But we should never lose sight and drop the ball on the fact that we also have real collection and real disbursement. You can give today 430, but Treasury probably at the end of the day gets 390. But the governor will not plan with 390, will plan with the 430 we have given them. So we come back to the issue of pending. We need to be cognizant of the fact that we should take this country away from things called pending bills. And therefore, I want the fiscal analyst to tell us how much progressively have we accumulated a debt. How much has the debt been accumulated? Last year we gave 387. What is the actual that has been disbursed up to today, because we are 3 months late? What happened in the previous year? How much money was not disbursed? I know there was a year, I think the first year when Ruto came in, he disbursed every man, every coin, but the consecutive years, there has not been a realization of the figure that has been given. Therefore, my position is, Senate, you need to adjust your figure downwards so that you do not put counties into trouble. We keep on blaming county government bosses on the fact that they're accumulating pending bills, they're not able to pay salaries, they're not because we have told them money is here, is available, you plan, you budget, you do appropriations, and they will do appropriations with the figure 430, but at the end of the day they'll only get 380, probably. So we put them in a problem. So my position on co-chairs, and I want to say this, probably as National Assembly, and I'm not talking as National Assembly, I want to talk as a Kenyan and as a legislator who understands what it is when a county government has pending bills. It kills young people, it kills business, people get auctioned, banks themselves get into trouble because they have loaned money and they are not able to recover. And so the economy of the country actually staggers a little bit because of the decision that we make in this kind of negotiation. So I want to say 408 as proposed by the National Assembly side is realistic, is achievable, is something that we can all strive to get and not put county governments into trouble. Honorable Boni Khalwale, I know you're a good doctor, you're a good analyst, you are a good politician, but I want you to keep all that aside. I just want you to be a fiscal person. Look at the fiscal space, look at what it is that we can achieve, what it is that we need to do going forward, and say probably 408 is a good figure, achievable, realistic, and will not will not balloon the concept of pending bills in this country. I rest my case.
Can I follow? Yes, thank you. Having looked at the figures, that has been growing. In the 2021-2022, it remains stagnant from your figures. And that one can be attributed to the COVID-19, when we had COVID-19. Therefore, you could not be able to increase it. As we speak today, from the last financial year of 387.5 to now 405.1. Let me do it 4.5 first. 4.5.1. That is an increase of 17.6. And therefore, when we move to even 4.8, you add another 3. That means we're increasing by 20.6 billion. My colleague here, Honorable Boni Kalwale, who is a doctor like me, when you look at our minutes, they've only put policy as a national function for health. That is not true. Health is in the nation. It's also in charge of national referral facilities. It's in charge of research, which is money for KEMRI and KIBRE. Money for KEMSA is also included in the budget for the health. Money for vaccines, which are being administered in the county, they are also included in that budget for health. Money for health programs, which are being administered within the country, among them HIV, AIDS, and many other programs that are being supported in the counties are also being included there. We also have money for CHPs and money for community of universal health care workers, which I think with the time, once the functions will be transferred, once the salaries, payroll will be transferred to the counties, then I think as a committee we'll also still sit down and make sure that the money meant for their salaries will go to the counties. And as per the current budget, you have about 6 billion, which is money for the UHC workers. For CHPs, you have about 4.06 billion. That comes to close to already 10 billion, which will now be transferred as a conditional allocation to the counties. And therefore, that will still bridge this gap. This is money that is still being held at the national, because we are talking about transferring functions, and those functions must be followed with resources. So once that is done, then I think that money will also still be transferred to the counties. So I want to urge the senators that let's agree with the 4.8 figure for now, because we'll still continue. We have goodwill to make sure that any other function that we think it belongs to the counties should be transferred from the Ministry of Health, and you had also indicated even the Ministry of Water, and that as a committee in the budget will ensure that those functions are transferred together with resources. I raise my case.
Marianne?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, co-chairs. You know, your Friday negotiation did not have any lady, and we've really been struggling to put our hands up, and we are being...
You know, Chair, it is wrong to say that we are all members of...
Yes, but it's nice to also appreciate gender. I think it is very important. Let's not about gender. No. Gender. Here, gender talks about the people who are less represented. I think it's very important. Yeah.
Honorable Senator Marianne has the floor. And the procedure is that you want to say something, you can say after she finishes. Kindly do not interrupt.
Thank you for that, Chair, and I think he needs to respect also our position as we speak. So anyway, coming to the issue we are talking about here today, I think it's important to also appreciate the situation that we are in this country. Last year, there was the Gen Z issue. And of course, you remember we rejected the finance bill, meaning that there was no revenue that was created or generated. Hence, the reason why we stuck our division of our DORA to 387. This year, if we look at the finance bill that is going to come before us, it's currently under discussion, there is not much revenue being generated. And because we don't have much revenue, I think it is also important to look at the situation at which we are in as a country. If we are not going to generate more revenue, where are we going to get this additional money that we are saying we want to give counties to the tune of 430 billion? Because from 387 to 430, that would be around almost 50 billion that we are looking at raising or increasing. Is our economy growing at that equivalent? Are we getting that money? Because it's nice to live within our pockets and within our space. I know we are only discussing DORA today, we are not discussing any additional revenue, but it is also nice to appreciate that also those additional revenues are coming from the same pocket. Me, as when I look at my budget in my house, I look at my pocket. This is how much I have. Whether I'll put some on my left pocket or some on my right pocket, it's still the money that will come. That is the only amount of money I have. So we are at about 408. If we look at these other additional monies, it's another 12 billion. 408 plus 12 is 420 billion. That is already, we are already within a budget that we are coming from one pocket, which is what we are trying to generate. So I think I want to implore on the senators that we look at this figure of 4.8 and say that from last year to now, we have increased by about 21 or 20 point something, almost 21 billion. And compared to the last year and the previous year, which was a very minimal increase, and say that this year we are actually making good progress. And I think if we leave that space, then we know that next year, putting all factors constant and saying that we will grow our economy, we can actually grow this figure further from the 20 billion that we are giving today to a further bigger figure. It's nice to always project and put growth, but I also want to like what Mheshimiwa Pukose said, despite the fact that he did not want me to call ourselves gender. That female, but the fact that he said that we need to consider issues of pending bills, because yes, we can actually put nice figures on the floor, nice figures on paper, but what will we be doing to our Kenyans when that mama goes to buy or is given a small tender by county government and they are not able to pay for that tender because the money has not come from National Treasury, because National Treasury has not collected that money? What have we done to that person whom we are all representing, both at Senate and at National Assembly? We will actually have hurt that particular mama who has struggled to supply whatever it is they've struggled. They've borrowed money and they are being hounded left, right and center by the banks because of figures we are trying to make to look nice here today on the table, yet in the real sense, this is the real figures that we are looking at and saying, let's give what is reasonable to counties and let national government remain with us what is reasonable, so that we actually end this menace of pending bills, which has become a real problem. I thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair, and I want to support my colleagues. Actually looking at the figures from the previous years to the current time, and maybe the increment is about 2 billion or so, but now we are giving more 21 billion. With the current inflation that you're facing in this country, the current economic crisis, we also have to be reasonable. We are the same people will be going to the ground telling people the finance bill is 1, 2, 3, while actually whatever we are putting, sharing between the national government and the counties is unreasonable. Let us have that balance, okay? Let the counties run and let the national government also run. And so me, I'm of the opinion that the 21 billion that comes to 4.8 is reasonable, given that the increment has been of 2 billion or that percentage there. So I want to support that, Mr. Chair. And maybe we can move with these figures, because if we start stories, we will sit here until tomorrow. Let us close this. Thank you.
Senator Tabitha come on record, then the floor I'll give to Honorable Leah.
Thank you, Chair. Senator Tabitha Mutinda, member of this committee.
Mheshimiwa Leah, karibu.
Thank you so much, Chair and co-chairs and members of this committee. I was not in the first meeting, but I'm happy I'm here today. I have listened to submissions from my colleagues and from the senators, and we're actually making good progress. Having keenly listened, I think I actually support my colleagues that we have to be at 4.448.1. This is because looking at the fiscal analysts, listening to the report from the fiscal analyst, and having keenly listened to the pending bills issue in the country, I think it's not fair just to work on figures. It's fair to be realistic and allocate that which is possible for achieving, and actually making sure that we start reducing the pending bills that is actually hurting this country. So also listen to Senator Boni Halwale. I think it's my first time to sit with him in a meeting, and I want to say that I appreciate that actually most of the functions that we're talking about are actually progressively. We said that most of these functions are not fully devolved, and we agree that we are progressively devolving these functions. And so we can't say that the money is allocated there is actually for nothing. We have heard from our colleagues what the money in the national government is actually meant for. And so today, I want to urge my fellow senators and colleagues from the National Assembly, let us agree on giving the counties 408.1 million. We also know that as much as we want to give a lot of money to the counties, and it's box that we don't want to open, we also want to look at the growth at which the counties are giving us development. And for sure, most of the, when we look at the budget now, most of the departments and ministries have had cuts.